videos about how to lamb and how to trim and trim feed and shear and milk sheep and all kinds of wonderful things where it shows everything turning out right. And this video is going to be a little different because this one is about when everything goes wrong. Because, you know, we've been very careful to arrange our modest area to accommodate a lot of sheep, and we do it by being as efficient as possible with moving them from the waiting area, you know, the ladies in waiting, the pregnant ones, and then as they get closer, they have a drop zone, and they have a birthing area, and they have the lambing pens, and they come out, they have the nursery, and then the shelter, and we've kind of set that all up to where our lambing has worked year after year very well. And we've had mud before. Mud's normal. But nothing like this year, because after the last time that you came with your family, and we had about 3 feet of snow at that time, then we got warm weather, and we got rain, and more rain, and more rain. And so at one point, it was so bad with babies getting injured, mothers dragging their teats in the mud, and everything was just so unusable. We couldn't even get in here with machinery to bring the hay. We were tromping through the mud ourselves to get to the feeders. The mud was, if you stand long enough, you'll go down in it. The mud was coming in over the top of my boots. So you can imagine that for a little, that was maybe about 14 inches of mud. And so a baby just gets lost in it. And I came out and there were injuries, they were stuck behind feeders. One time there was one that was horizontal, and it was part of it was being stood on by one of the mothers. I said, oh, this has got to end. We have to evacuate. So to evacuate up to the higher hillside, and we have no shelter there except for the trees. And so one thing that I did was I put on the fragile ones, you know, because I usually keep the small, younger ones in one pen and the more robust ones in the other pen. Well, I got a lot of those little blankets that I use that are made either out of a sleeve of a sweater with holes cut and then pulled over, or the little blankets the Premier sells, and I put those on the most fragile ones because even a few temperature degrees can keep them. And wool is wonderful even when it's wet. So that helped keep a few of them a little healthier. And fortunately for me, we've not lost any. We have the one little guy inside who's having a hard time, but we haven't lost any babies out of 56 babies, so we've been lucky. We didn't have to swim across any rivers. We didn't have our whole barn burned down. We didn't have a lot of things that happened to many people, but we had mud. So one of the things that I'd like to emphasize is how the psychological health for these animals is to be together. It's not to be underestimated how stressful it is for a sheep to be away from its flock. And that's one of the reasons why if we do see one away from their flock, then something's definitely wrong we need to check out. When we moved them from down there, it was hailing, it was thundering, it was lightning, it was raining, it was pouring down. The trees afford us some shelter, but we couldn't even get our shelters up. It was only days later that we were even able to get the feeders up here so that we could feed them off the ground. When it was snow on the ground, it's no problem because you can throw it out on the clean ground, but I don't want to throw it in mud and muck. So one of the things that I had to do was to cut through the fence. So as far as preparedness for natural disasters, you should always have a bolt cutters because you can make gates, you can make fences, you can do all kinds of things. But we just cut through the fence here, and then we use these small panels to make a catch area because we had to be able to catch and treat the ones who had mastitis. And then the useful piece of material, of equipment is the head gate. The head gate is wonderful. Now this young girl just demonstrated the effectiveness of a creep. The creep, I give them their pellets and light hay, little fine hay over on this side, so they don't have to compete with the big moms. And they can come and go as they please. So there's this kind of creep, you know, that I can adjust this to make it either right or leave open spaces for a creep. I can have their mother here and have her face over there where her babies are, so that she's calm, and then I can. And the babies can go in and out through this one. This is also a panel that is used as a creep, and in our case, it's used as a gate. So Chocolate will show us about how that goes. All the milking sheep had to be milked out here, and I didn't even attempt to do this in a clean manner. I just milked them so that they could be comfortable, so that they would stay all right. So it gave us a way to get in and out, to access, to put our hay in, to put our feeders in and put the hay in, to work on our animals in an enclosure. The babies can come in, get their creep feed. The mothers can be just put into the head gate. And it works so easy. Of course, you are kneeling down rather than standing nicely at the stanchion. We watch these lambs, and what is it that we want to watch other than them bouncing and having a good time? So we're going to look and say, all right, so is there anybody who's not with the flock? Is there anybody way out there that's sitting aside, maybe trembling, cold and stuff? There's that one right there. Doesn't look sick, but we're going to check. These two are just staying warm. They're hanging out together. All these are just hanging out together. One of the things that we do is we come up to a lamb and gently wake it and see if it will wake up and stretch. Because if they've been sleeping for a while, and then we just make them. Here we go. Come on. Come on. Stretch. That's a healthy sheep. Oh, stretch. Okay, he's fine. So here's the one that I was concerned with. Because if it were eczema, or what's also called ORF, or what's also called sore mouth, if it were that these little pimples are, little poxes are, then it would be contagious to humans. So you always want to have gloves. So what we had here was just little, little zits, basically. Looks a lot better now, but yeah. But see, that was one that I was curious about, and she had them all over her chin. Got nice teeth. Okay. Today doesn't look so bad at all. I just kept her isolated. See, there we have some like little pimples on the bottom of the chin. Now it could be nothing. It could be because all of these animals have been nursing off of really mucky teats, and maybe that's all that it was. But when I saw it and I tried to clean it up, of course, I try to imagine what's the worst it could be, and I went from there and I studied it. But apparently it's kind of it's a virus. If it is sore mouth, it is a virus that is found commonly, and it's kind of like, I guess, like people have cold sores, herpes. It's along that line. You didn't want to have it in your flock, and it can be transmitted to people, so you want to use gloves to hold the animal. But it's cleared up for the most part right now after 3 or 4 days of just keeping her isolated, keeping everything clean. So unless I got scrapings off the scab and send it to the lab, I probably would never know. And when I did talk to the vet was just saying, well, just don't get it on you and it'll get clear. And it's like having your child has chicken pox. So I was very, very concerned about this one when it first happened, because I don't like anything to happen to any of them. But after looking at the consensus of things, it happens. You wish it wouldn't. It's not tragic. You just have to protect your own self first.